they say. Yeah,
So
so much
intense.
inside. Yeah, there's
So
so much
intense.
stuffed inside here. Yeah. So what is it talking about?
Too much is good.
Too much he has put in. Absolutely. So now you have to extract what all he has put in.
But then the second time, when he's referring to 434.
Sorry?
This is the second time that, and the only time it refers to a shloka twice, 434.
Yeah.
So really powerful stuff.
So, tell me what all these last few paras are talking about.
Self-knowledge for the sake of self-knowledge as a means to liberation.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's too cold.
The draft is coming up. Okay, so the first thing is, most of the humanity doesn't even think of moksha. The human growth normally for most of us ends with dharma. So artha kama, I think is like there, even for somebody who's doing artha kama is there. But in addition to artha kama, when there is dharma, we think that the human goal is complete for most of us, right? Now, who are the few who move to moksha?
The ones who realize that this doesn't bring fulfillment.
Excellent. That not only artha and kama don't bring fulfillment, even dharma doesn't bring, right? So that means, so then you can either say that, okay, but this is how life is, this is the maximum I can do, and within that, I mean, whatever I can do, so either just stay within this framework, or some people move to this framework. What is this point where the person will move from here to here? It's not only the fact that this will not give you, because then you can just become somebody who's depressed, somebody who feels, oh my God, what's the meaning of life? Do you understand? So there are a lot of people who understand that hey, life is not really giving them what they are searching for, but then they are not searching for something else. So what makes you go from here to here?
Just remind us the definition you had given us of dharma.
Yeah, so all that I did last time. So if you listen to my classes last time, then dharma basically is living an ethical life. For us, dharma includes ethics as well as duties and responsibilities. This is called samanya dharma, and this is called swadharma. Okay, so then this is the meaning of the term dharma. So if I live with ethics, and if I perform my duties and responsibilities towards my wife, towards my kids, towards my colleagues, so then I'm living a life of dharma. Yeah.
And when dharma doesn't give you enough satisfaction, you need more. You see.
So that means among the people who discern the fact that not only artha and kama, but even dharma doesn't give me the real lasting fulfillment that I'm searching for, then among those people, please understand, there may be many people who could have recognized that, but among even those, so that means, what it means is, some of them are in this framework, just artha and kama, that's all they are looking for. How to increase my, the different forms of wealth, and how to, my power and my pleasures, the life ends there. So let's put some number, and that number can be very random. So let's just put some number. What is the number? How many people you think are just here?
Like 99%.
Only artha and kama?
No. In India, much
Let's say globally, and it's not of any
I think
importance.
70%.
Suppose let's put 70%. Now, there are some people who will, the basic pursuit remains artha and kama, but they've added ethics to it, and duties and responsibilities. think also are in this category. This is an exclusive Artha and Kama category where you really don't really think too much about dharma. Sometimes you end up following dharma. It's not like you're always violating, but that doesn't, you're not consciously thinking about it. And if for this you have to sacrifice this, it doesn't really matter. Or maybe sometimes you're looking actively to see how to bypass this to get this. So there can be, right? Now here, what do you think is the percentage of people who kind of bring in dharma in this pursuit?
29.9.
Huh?
29.9.
29.9. Oh, so then where are the other categories? Okay, now how many you think, now please understand, because why I'm doing it is to show you one thing. There can be a lot of people who may conclude that Artha, Dharma and Kama is not really giving me what I'm searching for, but they haven't yet come to moksha as a person. Do you understand? So you have to make it slightly more nuanced.
What if
The
we
rest of the people are,
So they are what we
they are
call,
mooks.
Seekers.
this is a different, so this
Seekers
para
or
is,
mooks.
one second, this para is talking about very subtle things. So I'm trying to get you there. So you follow my logic, then we'll go back to the para and I'll show you how he's showing so. Okay? So just right now don't think about the para, just think about this. So who are these people who have somehow figured out that my normal pursuits, even though I'm ethical, is not really giving me what I'm searching for, and then they haven't yet come to moksha. Can you think of this category of people?
People who go through immense pain.
Sorry?
People who go through immense pain or loss.
I would say, I mean, I think of myself in them because I don't have some great desire for moksha, but I'm sort of in between.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what moksha is. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So people who have everything, they have got gathered, I mean, whatever, having both in a comfortable position, doing right, and then looking beyond maybe bigger charities, bigger.
Yeah,
It's
that's all.
all-
That's all.
that's
That's
within
dharma.
dharma.
That's within dharma.
It's okay to be happy and stay in dharma.
Yeah, so there are a lot of people, that's right, exactly, they will belong here. What I'm saying is there are people who belong here, there are some people who belong here, but before this, they also belong here. What is this category?
That's the state of flux.
Discomfort.
Like, there is still
Discomfort.
So
Still.
a lot of questioning. That's going to different.
Unanswered questions.
The whole spiritual world.
Spiritual.
That's when you're going to different swamis and gurus and
Yeah, but in
seekers.
this, exactly, they are seekers because they have figured out that this is not giving them what they are searching for, but what they are searching for is something more, but they haven't yet come to moksha, the final freedom, as the answer, which is self-knowledge. They haven't yet come to it.
So give us a hint, please, Neha, because Chirag is already got the answer.
So then let Chirag answer.
I didn't have the answer. I said it's like, it's like
So-
the duty free area, where
so
you not
this- if
for
we
on the
had-
other side, but you left this
So
side.
this iffy area belongs to people who are exploring. So when they are exploring and they haven't yet come here, then you can have people who go for aura cleansing. Do you understand? Past life regression. Then they will do, I don't know what.
astrology. Self-knowledge books they read, self-help books.
Self-help books, excellent.
A lot of leaders who, I mean, people.
Excellent.
It's a-
So that means there is a whole big world out here. They call themselves spiritual. Why? Because they have figured out that this normal pursuits don't give them anything. And they don't just want to sit depressed thinking that, oh my God, this is the only thing in life and it's not giving me what they are searching. But they haven't yet come to.
We are seeking outside, we are not seeking within.
Excellent. So that is what I want you first first identify this category and then distinguish this category from this. So this is why I want to logically move you from, do you understand? So what is the difference between, now first you need to identify this category, then you have to tell me how is this different from this. Do you understand?
Because it's not self-knowledge, it's the
Excellent.
it's an external seeking through
Right.
non-material means.
So now, for example, right, aura cleansing. So what are people expecting from this aura cleansing?
They
go
keep
for-
using words like energy and this and that.
Exactly, rising your, some energy rising within you. This is all chakra.
But
You know, they give all these
Chakra
names,
healing.
very exotic names they give. Chakra,
Healer,
chakra healing, crystal healing. There's a whole
And
big
talking to
world
spirits
out
and
here.
all. Talking to
This is a big thing, you know. There are, what are
automatic
they called?
writing. and all.
No, they are called some
Channels.
Medium.
channels.
Medium.
So I think they will talk to, so they will talk to you with some spirits, and they'll come you to find out some answers, and then they'll give you. There is a whole big world out there which belongs here. You understand? So that means all what? What are they called? Channels. right?
Channels.
Big time. Big time means big time. Most of the spiritual people, so that means this is not 29.9. There is a big chunk here.
That's true.
Yes. Between the two, 29.
Yeah, so that means, and they may or may not be dharmic also. You don't know. Do you understand? It's not like they are
Yeah,
dharmic
I'm
and
just going to say that.
yeah, they can take you for a ride. And then, so do you understand? There is a whole big world out
So
here.
tantrics and all come in.
Tantric, excellent. So what do these tantric people do?
I think spirits.
Black magic, sacrifice.
So all these
Yeah.
crazy stuff, you know, power. So that means that I have some power and I will change things for you. All this belongs here.
Yeah.
A crazy spiritual world. What we call spiritual world. So that means now you need to, so now this is very different from here. And what is this and what is this? Because unfortunately, people, the minute you say, right, I see this all the time, even when I was working in Bangkok, right? So on one hand, suppose people will say that she works with the UN, so they'll be all impressed. Then she's teaching Vedanta, then everybody's, I can see visually the face of people changing. It's like, oh, she's into some
Weird stuff.
weird stuff, exactly. Right? And why is that so? Because for
Yeah,
a
actually,
normal
there is a
person,
lot of those guys over there.
exactly, absolutely. This whole
That's it,
spiritual
yeah.
world is majority these guys. And because it is these guys, people carry a very strange impression about somebody who is spiritual. Sanchina,
So I have a question. Firstly, I think that 70-30 skew will be.
it's not
It's like, yeah, because I think while we have Artha and Dharma, people are very transactional. So if I do Dharma on case-to-case basis, it doesn't put me in the dharmic box.
excellent. So that's also a
Right?
very
Once I transition into this
Yeah.
dharmic box, maybe
Yeah.
I evolve.
yes.
But then before I go into moksha, it looks like I've taken a dive. Like I just lost the plot and I went spiritual. Like what the hell happened to me? I was dharmic. I moved on from this whole Artha and Karma thing, and then I lost it. Then I was like, Baba, aap batao.
Exactly. Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely. So that means absolutely. So what you're saying is that actually you think you're evolving, but where are you going? You are actually losing the plot.
Getting back.
Yeah. And that's even further delusional because if you are going down and you are aware that I'm going down, it's okay.
It's okay.
But
Yeah,
if you
not
are
aware,
going down
doing
and
something
you're
better.
thinking that I'm
Yeah.
evolving,
It
then
can be
that's a
dangerous, yeah.
triple confusion.
Absolutely. Then you are better off where you were.
I regressed. actually.
Yeah, you were better off where you were
You're
before.
just better off being there.
And this is why somebody who's just here, right, and just a normal, healthy human being who's, you
Is
know,
better off.
will
Better off
actually is better off. Is better off and looks at this so world extremely suspiciously because they said this is all mumbo jumbo. And it is true. And it is true. So therefore,
In fact, this is the one which scares people off and they
Absolutely.
won't go this side.
absolutely. So most of the people, and rightfully so, they are all
They come
scared.
over there and then they get scared and they might say, okay,
Yeah.
forget it, I might as well be there.
Absolutely. So this is why spirituality, because this is the majority of spirituality, people are actually very skeptical. People who are here, they are very skeptical of, when the minute you say I'm into spirituality, is like, oh, now she's on another trip. Right? So now, so here, as Chirag very rightly said, you are regressing, you are losing the plot. That is a nice word. But you think you are evolving. And that is double delusion.
Yes.
Right? So this is now. Now you have to tell me, how is this different from this?
But would this really
Because
be
you're
called
looking for
spiritual
somebody
growth?
outside, you know.
It is called because suppose you read a
Yes.
spiritual magazine in America, right?
Yeah.
Spiritual, they had, even in 90s
Yeah,
when
yeah.
I lived there, they had spiritual magazines. And if you open that spiritual magazine, it's full of all this. And even now in Bombay, suppose whoever is doing Master
And those tarot cards and
as
all?
medical thing. They call it as some spiritual, some constellation. It's like some crazy things people do. And it all is marketed as spiritual. So that means now, what is now you have to tell me, what is the difference between this and this?
From external, you're looking at
Okay.
getting answers from the
Exactly.
external world.
Right? Here you are still kind of depending upon some energy to be cleansed, and you think that that's going to solve my problem. Somebody comes and my aura is all this thing, so some external person will come and clean my aura, and I'll be
So that's
totally
a quick fix.
fine.
This is like sometimes a quick fix, right?
So I
So
don't
it's a
even know, first of
transactional-
all, we don't even know if it is a fix or not.
Exactly. But it's like you want a quick,
Yeah. So
like
you
a
want a
remedy,
quick
quick
fix.
fix.
But that is when
Also,
and
somebody else
want
can sort
somebody
out
else
for you.
to
You
do
don't
it.
realize that you have to sort it out for yourself.
excellent, right? Here, somebody else coming and cleaning up your energy will sort out things for you. You go to a Baba, and Baba with all his powers will take you under his fold, and he will solve all your life problems.
Maybe possible.
Exactly. So this is all about external solutions, right? So somebody else has to do something, and that magically will evolve you, right? Past life regression. How does that? What is that? Exactly. Think about something, and when you know why it is. I mean, in some ways, it's true that you know the cause and you are able to handle it better. But how is it really? I mean, really fundamentally going to change you in any way? Then what? Self-help books. Again, I mean, it just kind of it's a Nilima calls it a pop psychology. Right? Because there are psychologists who have studied properly. This is what self-help is. Take little things from here, little things from here, and make it like really nice. So in this self-help, you'll have a lot of this pop psychology, which is understandable. It's not rigorous. It's easy. You feel you're evolving a little bit. You're coming to know a little bit about this and that. So that is, you feel good factor. You're powerful. Believe in yourself. And all nice. Sounds wonderful.
Or the secret, that book was
Yeah.
just the
Yeah.
secret of big thing.
Open up to the universe, and universe will give
That
you.
book is a threat to humanity
Absolutely.
because I tried it.
Where if you stare long enough at all, that whole necklace will become
I did that book always
Secret.
and guess who gifted
And
me?
it actually.
That's good.
So,
It's like you.
So that means when you have what is this energy, some chakra rising, and it's all like what some energy is going to rise and then what you're going to become enlightened all of a sudden. I mean, this is all just crazy and people buy into it. So now, this is all, the one major feature is, it is all external. And you don't have to, I mean, maybe in self-help, maybe little, but sometimes as if it's a book, it's like secret. It's like all you have to do is to what? Put out your intention, and then the universe will just give you everything that you want. So that also is very dangerous, right? It's external and it's not really your effort at all. And it's not really empowering you in any way. It creates certain dependency on either
Empowering
energy.
somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. So most of the spiritual world is here. Now, who will not get caught here, not get caught here, not get caught here and come here? It's not easy.
Whoever takes your classes.
Whoever takes your
Takes Niva's
classes.
class.
So that is, yeah. So I took my teacher's classes and he took some other classes. So you're right. But you need to have, so who will not get caught here will not only restrict oneself. What is that type of a mind? What that mind
That's
has
what they
figured
call
out.
that mumukshu, right?
That is it. Exactly. So that is what is
Not this,
But
but
not
that.
this, but
Not
this.
as one thing and
No, one
that's.
second.
Right.
So exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why I didn't want to come from here to here. I wanted you to figure out. So we are not talking about this. We are talking about
And even break
this.
it up into
So
two
this state of
photos.
seeking is not mumukshu, that. What is the exact definition? It says,
It's written. The one who is seeking freedom. Or you can actually do one thing. The one who is seeking freedom. Seeker of freedom.
Mumukshu seeks, that mumukshu seeks
He is
freedom.
somebody who is living.
A freedom that is discovered in the knowledge of truth of one's heart.
Sorry?
Say it again.
Mumukshu is the one who seeks freedom, a freedom that is discovered in the knowledge of the truth of one's origin.
Okay, so who will, I mean, as Bhavan says, that it's not always very easy to, on your own, move here. So that's why the book says that somewhere you hear something about moksha, you go for a talk, you read a book which is talking about this and not about this, and it resonates with you. So now suppose it resonates with you, what kind of a mind it is? What? Because sometimes if you're into this and you give them this book, it will not do anything to them. They are so hot here, right? So what kind of a mind will see the difference between all of this and this? What that mind must have figured out in order to be attracted to this and not this?
And the answer is internal, that you have to find out.
So there is a brilliant book that is written by my teacher, and that book is The Problem Is You and the Solution Is You. If the problem is you and you are looking for solutions somewhere else, you'll never solve the problem. He used to give an example. The example is a simple example, but it conveys a lot. So there was an old lady and she was searching for her key. So she was frantically searching for her key everywhere, and a young man was passing by. So he saw this old woman struggling a little. He said, let me help her out. So he started searching also, and then he also couldn't find it. So then he asked her, where did you lose the key? So she says, I lost it inside the house. What? If you lost it inside the house, why are you searching for it outside? She says, because outside there is light. This is exactly. The problem that we all have is smallness, inadequacy. This is a real thing that we are trying to solve in life. Sense of lack, sense of incompletion. This is all, in fact, behind everything, this is what we are really trying to solve. Right? And what we haven't figured out is, if I am in reality small, you add any of this, it is still small and finite. You understand? small. And then you clean aura for, and then I used to ask somebody, for how long do you keep the aura cleansed? So they said 3 hours. So suppose, first of all, let's assume that somebody can clean your aura. But how long does it remain clean? For 3 hours.
So every time you do it.
So that means, so small plus small, can it lead to freedom from this? It is impossible. This is almost like mathematics. That what we do is, we, within the paradigm that I am small, I want to add something. Before I wanted to add artha, then I wanted to add kama, now I want to add one little baba. Absolutely. But this doesn't shift. And as long as this doesn't shift, I continue to have the same problem. So that means moksha that our Shastra is talking about is fundamentally different. The starting point is different. What is the starting point? If you were really small, you will always remain small. Because to this small, you add something finite. Because the only thing that you can add to this small is within time and space. That's all you can do, right? So that means anything you add is going to be small and finite. With this addition, when will you get to freedom? Freedom from smallness. What you are really searching for is freedom from smallness.
So you know that you are not small.
Exactly. So Vedanta has a starting point that you are not this small individual. You are the Atma is Brahman. This is a starting point of Vedanta. So that means, and that's the only possible way that you can actually solve it. So this is what we call a real mumukshu who is seeking knowledge. What kind of knowledge? Knowledge of the self. So that means I want to see myself in my true light because my eye seems to me like limited. And if I'm limited, anything else that I add which requires doing. Look at his words, what he says.
Effort.
Effort will only give you what?
To produce certain results.
Yeah, it will produce certain results, but it can never produce the final freedom. So that means, so you have to understand the logic all the way. So that means, this is all the person has figured out. Only then your life gains a certain direction. Otherwise, you are just going here and there. So what is the thing? I am searching. This is my real search. Behind everything that I am searching, and my real search is freedom. Freedom from smallness, lack, whatever. If right now, the way I see myself, I am small. That's why I'm searching freedom from smallness. Now this small person, if this was reality about me, anything that I can add through effort, through action, is going to, what is going to be the outcome?
You will feel good for a while, but again you will come back to
You
small.
feel good for a while, right? But at the same time, it doesn't solve this problem because you add small thing to a small and you still remain small. Whether it is in spiritual domain or was the other spiritual domain or artha. So that means the only way to solve this problem is that I am already free. Free means I am not this small individual. And if I am not this small individual, then you can ask yourself, but why do I, and not only I, but everybody else starts with the fact that I am small. We all start with the fact that I am small because we all have ignorance about the nature of our true self. Just let me finish and then you can ask me a question. So that means we all have ignorance about our true nature. So that means if I want to get here, the only thing that can get me here is remove this ignorance. And that is what? Self-knowledge. Now, if I only go till here, it may seem as though actions are useless. actions will only get you something which is finite and it will not give you this freedom. It is only the self-knowledge which will give you the freedom. But actually, what Vedanta is very clever, it re-owns action. It doesn't say actions are useless totally. Having said self-knowledge is the one which is finally going to give you freedom, it re-owns action, the role of action. What is the re-owning part? It tells you
Actions
that,
give you Papa and Punya.
so yes, but it says, exactly. So, the very action which keeps you in this small, that very action you can use to free yourself. Exactly. So that very action that you, which will in itself will not give you what you are searching for, that very action you can use which will help you in your pursuit of self-knowledge, and that is the whole teaching of Karma Yoga. This very action converting into something which will help you in your pursuit of knowledge. This is called Karma Yoga. How will the very action which binds you now you can use as a means for your liberation? By performing action in a way that it actually reduces your burden rather than increases the burden. So what does it mean? That when will an action begin to reduce your burden rather than increasing? So there are different things. So as you live your life and situations will arise in your life, you can use actions to reduce the burden in several ways. One, when the situations arise, and if your mind feels like skipping the ethics in responding to that, you have to bring the mind back and say, if I choose to let go the ethical part, sometime in the future I have to pay for it. Not only, and it will create my life will become more complex rather than easier. So now, your tendency may be to do what is convenient, but now another criteria has come in, and it says that in the long run, and even in the short run, going against ethics, it doesn't pay. Because going against ethics actually creates conflict in my mind, creates guilt, creates fear, creates a certain low self-esteem, because I know what is right and I am not able to do it. So now, the very action is, when it is abiding to ethics, then it becomes that which will hopefully free my mind from all the confusion that it carries. In fact, it will make it. Now, the second is, when I begin to perform my, generally, what my choices are only guided by mostly what I like, what I don't like. I don't necessarily think about what is my duty, what is my responsibility in this given situation. So when now in performing action, you begin to think about not just what is convenient to you and what you like, but you think about what is my duty and what is my responsibility. What is happening is that action creates a mind which is a noble mind, which is able to think beyond one's own needs. So that means
Take on a bigger role.
and looks and exactly and starts thinking a little bit bigger rather than just thinking about 5 people in your life, and your mind is totally absorbed by these 5 people that you're carrying in your mind and replaying again and again and again what they did to you and what you said to them, and all their mind is crowded with that. So it begins to make it what? Little bit more engaging, more problem solving, more conscious, and what more expanded. Then the third thing is, as situations arise, then it will evoke certain emotions in us. And we all have a tendency to guide our actions by that emotion that is existing. So now, the action has to come from a certain, we are not trying to eliminate emotions, but we are trying to give emotions their right place. Neither I want to give up emotions, nor I want to make all my decisions based only on emotions. So So that means if my emotions are sometimes exaggerated emotions, a small thing makes me really angry. So that means emotions become an indicator that something is wrong, right? So some people is interesting. Small thing, right? Suppose I've seen some women, this is the place. If a maid puts this like this, they'll start screaming. What is this mind? This mind is obsessed with what this is the place and cannot handle. So that means there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure which is coming out in this way. And you have to free it. This is very, very important. We don't see it as distortions, but you have to now begin to see it as distortions. Because how do you know it's a distortion? The response that you have is not at all in keeping with the external thing, what it calls for. So that means your mind is processing it in a totally different, that means it has created a very exaggerated picture for you and you're responding from there and you're not in touch with realities.
The weightage is skewed.
Exactly, the weightage is skewed. Exactly. The weightage is totally skewed. So you begin to take care of your emotions. When we all live in this world, when we live in this world, we all live with certain personal narrative. Personal narrative means as situations arise and as we respond to situations, we create a narrative. What is a narrative? Who am I? Am I powerful or not? People will listen to me or not? Am I successful or not? Right? So that means, or how is the world treating me? What is the nature of the world? All because in order to live in life, you need to create a narrative. In this narrative, there can be a lot of problems. You can be constantly seeing yourself as not good enough. You can constantly, and it's interesting because in some areas you may feel I'm really good, but in one little area you can beat yourself up. And you said, I'm not good here, and I'm not good here. And that picture will keep building. So that means, so in one person has so many skewed the kind of conclusions and which have direct impact on one's self-image. All these actions before you did not bring in all this. Karma yoga means you use the very actions to undo these distortions. The very actions which were done with these distortions and you didn't even recognize the distortions. Those very actions you can use now consciously to undo these, recognize this and undo it. This is a very, very big thing. So it gives you an opportunity as you begin to live life, whether you like it or not, situations will come and it will ask for your response. Are you going to respond from the old you who is all over the place, or are you going to recognize your distortions and correct it when you respond to that? This is what we call Karma Yoga. As you bring into your actions all of these considerations and you start correcting it, what kind of mind you're going to have?
You're preparing.
More target.
Far more target.
You're
A
preparing
subtle mind.
for accepting
A
the
dharmic
understanding
mind.
of
A dharmic mind at another level. Even if you were dharmic before, but many times we see dharma as black and white. So we get stuck. So that means, what is this stuck? Stuck means like how Bhishma was stuck. I have taken a vow to protect whoever is the king of Hastinapura, and that's what I'm going to do, no matter what. And how is Lord Krishna's dharma? Lord Krishna's dharma is, yes, you had given a vow, and it's good to honor the vow, but at the same time, you have to bring into picture that this king has not become the king
in a just
in
manner.
a just manner. So now you don't have any obligation to support that king. So that means even dharma, what is dharma? Exactly, much more involved. So that means even if you were dharmic before, it becomes far more refined and far more
Nuances change.
nuance. Even if you were doing your duties and responsibilities, there are possibilities that you were doing it out of fear. So that's not called doing a proper duty, right? So people are mortally afraid to, I don't know, this is only I discovered when I came to India. They are mortally afraid of their in-laws, to say just simple things. I mean, it's incredible.
They're doing it from smallness.
Exactly. Absolutely. And what is interesting is, for them, they think that they are performing the duties. So that is, that duty gets mixed up with fear. So now you have to distinguish. When
Even
Lord
if
Krishna
you pray
is
to
talking
God,
about,
and it comes from a position of being fearful, that God has the power to
punish.
you, then that is also
Exactly. That's also a distortion. So that means
Or
suppose.
even ritualistically, right? Just because it's 9 o'clock, I got to do my puja.
Absolutely. So that means even if you're doing right things, you're doing it for wrong reasons. And not only wrong reasons, but also with a lot of fear. That's not karma yoga. You'll have to recognize, you have to change. Even the religious person has to change completely for Vedanta. You may think that the religious person has an edge, but may not be.
Sometimes it's opposite.
Sometimes it's the opposite.
I don't think there's any pundit who half the time means what he's saying. He's doing it 4 times a day.
Yeah.
He's not even thinking. It's like, brushing your teeth.
Absolutely. Right? So that means these duties and responsibilities, exactly. So he may be performing his duties, but he is not really doing it well because he doesn't understand. And if he creates fear in you, then that's even worse. ये नहीं करेगा तो ये होएगा. This is awful, awful way. Do you understand? So that means you have to start performing your duties and responsibilities not in this cliched ways, but in a much more enlightened way. Then emotions. So emotions, we sometimes think that our whole picture of emotions is there are some positive emotions and then there are some negative emotions. And what you want to do is to get rid of all the negative emotions. That framework has to change. Every emotion has a place. It's an indicator. So that means human mind is designed in a way that it will have series of emotions. It cannot not have series of emotions. But what is emotional maturity? If your emotions are not in sync with what is called for by external situation, that's when you recognize that something is wrong. Either you are discounting it or you are giving it a much bigger value. So that also, there are two tendencies. So suppose there is a separation of any type. Some people sink in depression. I'll never be liked again. Nobody will ever do this. Whatever, some extremely a picture which is like so bad, and as though life has come to an end. Some people, what they do is they keep telling themselves, I'm fine, it's no problem.
But actually they don't feel it.
Exactly. So that means they are deceiving themselves to believe that I'm fine, it doesn't affect me. Whereas actually the human brain is designed in a way that you can't be totally indifferent. So these are the two ways that we deal with emotions. Either it's totally exaggerated or it is denial. This is called denial. In this, there are one is a denial, that means you don't even acknowledge the fact that you are feeling this. The second is you feel it and you don't express it. This is called suppression. Or getting totally carried away with this exaggerated emotion that goes with that event. This event will call for what is called mastery over emotion. The mastery over emotion is called this event, which is separation, will call for some grief. This is human mind. You cannot have a separation of somebody that you love or you loved and then you can't have grief. It's not possible. If you have a healthy mind, it will have grief. And you need to process that grief in a healthy way, acknowledging and feeling, but that's not the end of the world. And then you have to learn to move forward. So this is what we call healthy emotions. When that grief has turned into depression, why? Because you have added a story that now I'm doomed, nobody will ever like me, I will be lonely, nobody is there to care for me, nobody will love me, and my life will be miserable. That leads to, you don't see any light.
That's the narrative.
That's a narrative. Now, to this normal feeling, you have added a narrative. And that narrative has caused heightened emotions. And you get so overwhelmed by those emotions that you are rendered helpless. You are not able to deal with it. Then there is the other tendency, oh, I'm fine. The next day you say, I'm fine. That feeling of grief when it comes, you are completely trying to distract yourself. You call a friend, listen to music, do this, go for a movie, because you don't want to live that. This is what we call distraction and complete, which at times can lead to either denial or suppression. Sometimes you recognize I'm sad, but you suppress it. Sometimes you don't, you tell yourself I'm not even feeling it. So that means now your emotional life will begin to be healthier. So what is healthy emotional life? Situations which call for grief, you do grieve, but you move on. By telling yourself the right things, right? So, and self-image is corrected. So if self-image also can be two ways, either arrogance, I am somebody very important and I am somebody who's really cool, and that is another problem of self-image. And the other is I'm nobody. Both are. So all this, when they get corrected, you have a clear, healthy mind. So the very action which cannot give you self-knowledge, but it can give you clear, healthy mind if you begin to use these actions effectively. Right? And with that clear, healthy mind, when you listen to the Vedas talking about your true nature as a much bigger reality than what you thought that it was small, that mind can follow the logics. It can follow the logics without imputing its own narrative. And it can just be available for you to understand and understand within understanding, because it's intricate, it's not simple. And it can follow and it can, what? At one point it will be able to see this vision.
And but then seeing this vision is attaining moksha?
Yeah, that is
Yes.
what.
Just seeing it.
It's seeing it because you're not small. See, if you were small and if you had to do something
Yes.
to become big, you'd still remain small. So that means if you're already big, then
Yeah.
all you have to do is to know it. But here there is no action, but action does have a place. Action has a place in this.
But then it's not that, so once you see this, it's you've seen attained moksha, but then do you not have to act from that place?
So that's okay. You can act from this place. Why?
Of not being
Not,
small.
exactly. So that means you are no longer confused about what is what. So you are not denying that there is a body and mind, but your self-identity is not totally confined to only
But
body.
that's knowing it in theory. Do you not
It's
need to
not
apply that in your life to be able to have a
This
good
is called
moksha?
application. Please understand. Don't
What
mix
is
the
called
two.
application?
This is called application. So this is, the action has a different role to play.
Correct.
What happens, it's a problem because we mix these two. We don't see that it has a place, but not here. It has a place here. So that means, suppose, right? What do you have to do to make sky all pervasive? What do you have to do? Any action on your part, suppose you think
Understand.
that the space, exactly, suppose you think that the space is, this is a bottle space which is confined to this bottle. What do you have to do to make it big?
You have to be able to understand the fundamental, that's it.
Because you have wrongly attributed smallness to this space. Do you understand? The space is never small. If unfortunately, even in Vedanta, what people do most of the time, because they are not clear here, what they try to do is they retain this identity and then they try to make it big by some feeling of expansion. Is that the process? That is not the process.
You just take away the
Exactly.
boundary.
You just take away the boundary, which is a boundary which is created by you due to your ignorance. It doesn't require any expansion. Do you understand?
Yes.
Because why? Space is already all pervasive. You don't need to make this space expand. After years of Vedanta, people are trying to make this big by saying, I have to do something. So actually, what we are trying with space, according to Vedanta, Atma is all pervasive. You don't need to make it big. But for the mind to really get to this reality, you can't, that mind which is not prepared with all of this will never get to that reality. Even when the teacher is teaching, you will impute your own meanings to it. You won't be able to see it clearly. Yeah? So this is the whole pursuit. So this is what Swamiji is saying, that the self-knowledge alone, no action can actually get you there. And you don't need an action. Why? Because if it is small and if you have to make it big, you need action. But if it is already free, then you don't need an action. You need knowledge. But that knowledge will not take place because every knowledge takes place in the mind. So the mind, which is all confused about small things, can't get to this reality. So Vedanta involves two things. This part of self-knowledge is called Brahma Vidya. And this part of self-growth is called Yoga Shastra. What happens is, when we listen to Vedanta, and if you don't have a good teacher, everything gets mixed up. And everything gets mixed up and you lose track of what belongs where. Are you trying to make Atma big, or are you trying to make your mind clear? That also people don't understand. What exactly am I doing? That itself people don't understand. And what's the place of that in this whole grand scheme of things? That also people don't understand. So this is what we call the pursuit that he is talking about.
So you cannot get to self-knowledge Brahma Vidya without following the path of Yoga Shastra.
Excellent.
You need to imbibe Yoga Shastra in your life,
Absolutely.
in your daily living.
Super.
Only then your mind will be prepared to understand the Brahma Vidya.
Super. See, Tushar, what people say is, this is a very often, people say, yeah, I understand the reality, but I'm still struggling. Has it is not possible.
Then
You
you
can't
have to
say
say
exactly.
You understand the theory,
So that's not.
but you're never going to be able to imbibe. You have to imbibe the yoga.
But it's not called understanding. See, unfortunately, see what happens is that there is
A lot
no
of people
such.
like to get that book knowledge. Okay, what is
No, but here,
you read
what
about
I'm
Brahma
saying
Shastra,
is, no.
but you're never going to get.
self-evident, right? Because if you don't
At first it was because you practice. But right now also when Nima is saying it, we are hearing it. But every layer of perception.
Let me tell you a little bit technically
Yeah.
what does it mean knowing this reality. Because I think people
Yes,
use
yes.
it very
Very
loosely. Oh, I know it. I know it in theory.
Yeah.
No.
So are you going to explain understanding it versus being invested in it?
So that means this is called investing in it.
Right.
right? This is because you have to make all these changes. You have to first recognize and then you have to make all these changes. Then this, as a result of this, see, we think that this I know and this I'm working on. It's not possible. Without knowing this, your mind will not reach this reality. So once your mind is clear and it recognizes what is really the nature of Atma, then you don't need to do anything after that. And this already you have with you, because this is how you have invested in it.
Only then you recognize it from an invested perspective versus having theoretical knowledge.
Super. So what?
Yeah.
See that
Yeah,
again?
you're right.
But in
That's
fact
what I
what I'm
meant.
saying, Chirag, is theoretical knowledge of this means you have just heard it. It's not totally possible.
So you know self-knowledge means achieving X, Y, Z. But until you don't invest yourself into the ethics and all that, those 4 points over there, your understanding of self-knowledge is half-baked or only theoretical.
Super. I would prefer the
Not
word
half-baked is
half-baked.
better, yeah.
Half-baked is
Half-baked is
better
better.
than theoretical.
So can I just ask, so is this like, does it require constant awareness and reminding?
Yes, this one,
Yeah.
this does.
Yeah.
It requires living.
Yeah, you know,
like how?
Video handwriting.
Means like we are
So,
used to our
what
old
is this
patterns
called?
as well.
Ethics.
It's
Second is
getting back at
duty.
each of your
That's what I
actions.
mean. Keep reminding.
Self-image. But actually, the Bhagavad Gita, if you read, it uses many different frameworks. They use Raga Dvesha, they use Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. So all
Yes.
different frameworks are given to you to get your mind to a point of certain refinement and reduce your distortions. That mind, when it listens to the words, it will create right meaning. Until then, that mind, with all its imperfections and projections, will impute meanings which don't belong here. Do you understand? So that's why you need a clear thinking mind. So whether you get here or not, if you listen to Vedanta and if you invest in this, you will see so many benefits to your life, whether you finally get here or not.
So the small actions you take which only provide temporary relief is because the significance of those actions have not been great because they've not been coming from your invested.
Excellent.
You've not done it with the ethics and with the emotion and whatever else, and that's what gives you freedom.
Excellent.
Or
Excellent.
I didn't get that.
No,
I didn't get that.
you're small, you did a little action, you thought you did something right, it made you happy but only for 2 days. Because the significance of that action in your head was tiny. Because it didn't come from that place there. It didn't come with all the ethics, the emotion and everything else that you need to be invested in for your action to be significant enough to make a permanent or long lasting and to remove you from smallness, I guess.
Super. Yeah, I love your language. It's all very modern language, but you are saying exactly what I'm saying. It's excellent. So I need you as my kind of, when I go and speak to the corporate world, I think Chirag.
Baba Badao.
He's using his own language, but he's saying exactly what I'm saying. You're saying exactly what I'm saying. I get it. I totally understand what he's saying. He says we do perform a lot of actions, but they don't come from here. And because they don't come from here, they create actually confusion and momentary pleasures and all that. So now you're using the very action, but bring this into it,
Which takes you
which then allows you to get here.
Freedom will come from there.
The freedom will come initially from here, and then that mind understands this.
And
And
then
then
you were
it
saying that
becomes.
you were going to explain how, when you really truly understand this knowledge, what it means.
Okay, now do I have time? I will do it.
Yeah, because
Okay.
now we using that link otherwise. So,
Now we are
otherwise you
invested.
forget. Yeah.
Now we are invested in this.
So this is something which is,
One whole thing is
sorry,
It's just written it like that in 4 paragraphs, but it's like
but it is,
impossible to decipher without proper
It's like
like.
but
shorthand.
he's saying all of
Yeah,
this.
he's saying all of it.
Yeah.
For us to process it is a different
Yeah, that's the
matter.
thing. This is why this book seems like an easy book, but it requires a lot of knowledge to understand it properly.
That's why Nima said you need a good teacher, otherwise you go straight to Baba. That's why we fall into the Baba pit.
Absolutely. it's fine. Okay, now let's start. Whenever Vedanta is teaching about anything, it doesn't start talking about Atma. It takes a simple example and shows you, and then it expands. So that expands. That's the way. So that means it's not just something specific to Atma. This is how it is. Okay. So let's start any knowledge, right? Suppose I ask Anupa. Anupa, what is this? What would she say? A book, right? Now when Anupa says a book, how did she come to know that this is a book? This is what we call a little bit of analysis of how knowledge takes place. Does the physical book enter her head?
You see it with
The
your eyes.
physical book doesn't go and enter her head. So,
Visual. You see it with your
so what has happened is Anupa's eyes have picked up.
Physical image of the book enters the head.
No, wait,
Yeah.
wait. No, physical image, not the physical book.
No.
Do you understand? So that means her eyes have picked up, right? Now the eye sends a signal to the brain, and brain creates a corresponding image or a thought which carries the image of this book.
Based on memory.
Not
Past
now.
experience.
Right now it's not. Right
No,
now,
right now it's the same, yes.
your mind has created a image.
Yes.
And now then she uses her memory of what she has seen before, and then she says this is a book. Do you understand? Suppose I ask her, what is the color of this book? Then again, the thought has not only created an image of a book, but it has also created a image of the color. So suppose we. So that means whether Anupa's answer is right or not would depend upon what is the thought image that she has created, whether it is in keeping with what is outside or not. This is in Sanskrit called vritti jnana. Jnana means knowledge. But any knowledge, if she wants to know the book, a thought has to arise in her mind of a book. This is what you call a book image has to arise in her mind, and that has to correspond exactly to the book. This is when we call knowledge. Do you understand?
Yes.
Is it called theoretical knowledge? No, this is knowledge. But do you understand? This is a fact. So that means there is an external thing that is needed to be known. Her mind creates the right image of that, and that is called knowledge. Suppose Anupa had slight kind of a, today the light was not sufficient or something, and she had little this thing in her eyes, and her mind creates an image of a book, but not green. She doesn't see green. She sees, for example, the image is that of blue. Then she answers my question not from what this is, but the image that her mind has created. And she answers it is blue book. This is called an error. You understand? So that means why? Because this is not called knowledge. This is called an error. Why is it an error? Because it doesn't correspond to the real book.
The fact. But
The
Anupa's
fact.
mind has processed it as knowledge only. You know it's an error.
Superb. So that means this is, we know it is an error. Why do I know it is an error? Because what it doesn't correspond to, it's not what she thinks decides what it is the book which decides what it is.
That's
Do you
how we
understand?
get preconceived
This is
knowledge.
what we call, any knowledge is Vastu Tantra. Knowledge is Vastu Tantra. What it means is, I don't decide. If I want to know the book, I don't decide. I can't say I prefer yellow color, so let me see it as yellow. It has got nothing to do with my preference. It has to do with the color of the book. Do you understand? So that means any knowledge, and this is something, please, it may seem like technical, but this is something which is so common, right? Suppose you go to a math class and there are 10 students, she and her son has exams, listening to the teacher, each one tries to understand. How does that each person tries to understand? The person is creating corresponding thoughts based on what the teacher is saying. Somebody's thoughts are totally accurate. So then when the teacher takes the exam, the person gets it. Somebody has also created thoughts, but they are not totally accurate. So that person gets 90%.
It's objective, there has to be objective knowledge.
So that exactly. So that means any knowledge depends upon what that thing is. It is not dependent upon your brain. So that means when your brain captures exactly what it is, that is called knowledge. When your brain partially captures it or wrongly captures it, it's called not knowledge, it's called an error or partial knowledge or vague knowledge. Do you understand? So that means now, if you want to know the nature of Atma, your mind has to listen to what I am saying and it has to create images, corresponding images, right? It cannot not create images. Either these images are accurate images or you impute on what I am saying your own thinking. So that means what happens is you feel as though you understand what I am saying, because as Chirag says, Anupa thinks that for her it's knowledge.
So when you know that it's fully...
One second. So Anupa, it may think that she knows it, but she doesn't know it. Do you understand? Because it doesn't depend upon what Anupa thinks. It depends upon what this book is.
I would have been so happy if it depends on what Chirag says. Valentine's Day will be different tomorrow.
It doesn't depend upon what Chirag says. It depends upon what you want to know. Exactly.
You like
So
winning
that
and then
means, now, what I'm saying, why am I saying this? Then I'll come to your question. Why I'm saying is when I talk about the nature of Atma, we all create some images. And we think we got it. Right? And this is why then you say, but it's not complete. So then you say, no, it's only theoretical knowledge. It's not called knowledge. Why is it not called knowledge? Because it's not exactly in keeping with what needs to be understood. So that means unless your mind reaches the real refinement, it reaches a certain level of clarity, you will keep creating images, and because you keep creating images, it seems to you as though I understand. But actually you don't totally get it. The minute you totally get it, then there is no question of theory, practice, nothing. Because this is how Atma is and this is exactly how I see it. And in order to get there, I have worked on, invested in all these different ways of doing it. Until then, my mind will not create exact image of what is being said. It will keep on adding, subtracting, projecting its own meaning. And here it is complex. Why is it complex? Because it's not just one thing that you need to know. You need to know what is Atma, the self. You need to know what is Ishvara. You need to know what is the universe. Each of this you need to know accurately. And you need to connect the relationships accurately to create one own vision. By the time your mind begins to, first we struggle to understand one thing. Then here itself, suppose you go wrong. Now you're trying to connect it here. What will happen? You act on your false notion and you connect it here. So there is a double error. Then you use this to connect here. So this is how we may think that we are trying to get it, but it's not called knowledge. So please don't use this word that it's theoretical knowledge. It's called no knowledge. Because because you are creating images, but they are not accurate, not 100% accurate. Exactly. So there is a certain, either you can call it partial knowledge, or you can call it erroneous knowledge, or you can say vagueness. But once the knowledge takes place, it is absolutely clear. There is no going back and saying, oh yeah, so there is no such thing. Is it clear? Okay. Now,
Atma Ishvara Vinod.
yeah. Yeah.
So
You
what
had a question.
Kavita was saying, that how do you know that you reached that point?
Yeah. So that means, see, once you see, here the knowledge is about I am. Yeah. Right? So, until the time that you're questioning that, how do I know it? So, at one point, there is complete clarity. There is a complete clarity. You are not asking yourself, oh, did I get this? Am I losing it? Have I only theoretically got it? It's not like that.
You know.
It's very, very clear. It's very, very clear.
Preparation.
And unfortunately, if you have deceived yourself to think that I know it, and you actually don't know it, then Swamiji used to say, go and talk about it.
Go and talk.
When you start speaking about it, people will ask you questions, and you will realize, you may pretend and you may fake it, but you will realize deep inside that you don't really know the answer.
But teaching is a very good form of really knowing the
Yeah, but
process.
then many people
It's very good.
who know they don't know the answer, then they just create this, I don't care what other people think, wall.
That's a false superiority. Yeah.
Sorry?
They
Yeah,
create this wall,
exactly.
I don't care
So
what
that-
other people think,
Superb.
this is the way it is for me, and then they live in that.
Superb.
You live in
So
that
that
bubble.
means what Chirag is saying, this is the most common
It's a
thing
denial
among
mechanism.
spiritual people, that in fact it's, I don't know it, but instead of saying, hey, let me think about it, I say, you are so stupid, you don't even understand this. So they'll make you feel
But Nima, can I ask you
Inadequate.
something? I feel like I can feel it. I feel like I'm moving more and more like I'm living it, and I'm not able to articulate it.
yeah, so that means it's, see, this is what I'm saying. As you begin to work on all of this, there is a growing, so what I want to show is, there is a growing clarity.
There is
Don't confuse growing clarity with knowledge. So as you begin to listen to this more and more and more, your images will become more and more accurate, less and less vague. So it seems as though you understand, but that process is not considered complete till the whole thing is absolutely clear. So this is what we call, so don't confuse growing clarity with theoretical knowledge. So growing clarity is a fact, right? The first time you heard me talking about nature of Atma and the images your mind created were all over the place. Now over a period of time, they become hopefully much more accurate, much more able to connect better and able to understand the positions clearly. But it is not called final knowledge, it's called growing clarity. If growing clarity you start mistaking for final knowledge, what will happen?
You get stumped.
You'll get stuck.
You won't be able to absorb anything now.
Exactly, because you kind of tell yourself, yeah, I get it. So when the nuance is there, your mind has to readjust and make it more refined. You will not pay attention and undergo that process of making it further and further refined. So that's why it's true that the way you understood 3 years ago may not be exactly as you understand. So there is a growing clarity, but don't confuse it with knowledge. That's a different ball game altogether.
Do you feel like you have got full knowledge?
So that you have to tell me. I know, yeah, I mean,
I can't because I don't know. But
No, you can say that because you are very clear.
yeah.
That is the only
That's
test.
the only test.
That's
That's the
the
only
only
test.
test.
There's
There's no-
never a question which you have not been able to respond and
Yeah.
make our mind clear. So I think
No, I've been blessed in some ways. And then my teacher kind of saw that.
But do you feel you can 100% implement it everything?
See, the thing is,
Only for you.
1 minute,
For
1
you.
minute,
Then
as I
evolution,
say.
right?
So
Just
that
never be
means
100%.
either you know, no, 1 minute, either you know that the space
I
is
think there is
everywhere, or you know that the space, you think space is here and you are trying to expand it. And there is a huge difference, right?
Yeah.
Either you take this as a reality and then you're trying to expand it, or your mind has understood that hey, the space is all pervasive. This has got nothing to do with this. Do you understand? That's called knowledge. Until then, you are trying to work within this and trying to make it big.
What is that formula? E is equal to mc squared, whatever.
Yeah.
Everybody knows the formula, but
Yeah.
nobody knows how it came, what, kaise.
Exactly.
The whole depth of it is not understood.
Exactly. So you can't confuse. So that's a good. So let's end the class with this. So suppose I say I know E is equal to mc squared. So what? Okay, yeah, energy transforms into matter and matter transforms into energy. I'm not totally wrong, but I can't compare that knowledge to a scientist who knows
Exactly
how exactly how it works. That's all very superficial. That you can't call knowledge.
That's what we theoretic.
That's
It's just the
exactly.
definition, you know.
Exactly. Do you understand? So this is how we start with listening to Vedanta, the vague ideas, and this is why people start talking, oh, I'm everything, and it's like crazy. Because it puts you in a kind of a deluded mode rather than trying to understand how. So this is why this is not a simple pursuit. This is not some flaky pursuit. It's an amazing pursuit. And at the least, it will make you invested in your actions, which itself will bless you.
That's true. Even
If
if
you
you may not
Yeah,
see the full
may not,
picture, but
yeah,
at least you
but-
start working towards
that,
Yeah, that
living
is-
ethically.
that will completely
and
change the way your life
responsibility.
is.
absolutely.
That is not only preparing you, but it is also benefiting you so
So
much.
the
That is so
process
much.
itself is enough to give you true knowledge.
Absolutely. And life will become easier. You will feel more blessing. You will become lighter. All the loads that you carry, all the resentment, all will begin to drop. This will happen. It cannot but happen if you listen to what I'm saying accurately. Yeah, I mean, if your mind understands what I'm trying to say, then it cannot but happen.
Just one quick question. What then, like, what makes a saint? Like, why does a
Okay.
saint even more?
So what we are saying is, yes, last time I told about there are 4 kinds of preparation. This preparation that I was talking about, I gave another framework. One is I said you have to take care of your duties and responsibilities, dharma. I put it differently last time. What did I say? That you need to have cognitive skills which are sharp. The second is emotional intelligence. Then there is expansion. There is a spiritual quotient, means there is expansion. So I can be extremely emotionally mature by kind of knowing how I can deal with my fears and my emotions and all, but I may not be expansive. So that means that is generally what we call a saint. That the person has become, as a result, this is so well assimilated, the person has become expansive. Then we call that person a saint. And then there's some creativity, because then the person is not just completely caught in that little narrow way of looking at things. The person is looking at the world in very different, and the solutions to problems and all in a very different way. So we call that they evolved to a point. That means their mind has evolved.